Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're covering the one and only turbo coin, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, the markets are going crazy, right? There's always some Trump and China stuff manipulating the markets. Something like gold has dropped off a good amount. Other currency pairs are going crazy. Even Bitcoin has rose a couple of thousands of dollars. Now, the thing is, though, Bitcoin is in a range where it could have definitely, seen some type of pullback, right? Especially if we were considering going lower. Now, with how the daily candle closed for Tuesday, I'm not so convinced myself that we will be ranging, right? Especially that there's a lot of news that, kind of suggests that Bitcoin will continue pumping up. And even the nice daily candle, right? The rejections are looking beautiful, right? Here's the reality, right? Because I will cover Turbo in just a second. Something like Bitcoin, it doesn't necessarily need to sweep these lows and, even retest if the markets are really, really bullish, right? When something is really, really bullish, all it has to do technically is just trade within its range, retest, let's say within its range, right? We can see big, big support and resistance here. And if it continues going up, that is just good enough for the markets, right? That is just how the markets are sometimes. And that applies for something like our beloved Turbo, right? That applies for something like our beloved Turbo. We can see Turbo actually recently hit the 0.63 range, or sorry, the 0.0063 range, which is kind of crazy, right? Because that means we're actually not too far off of the 0.008 range that we're just talking about consistently for the last 2 to 3 weeks, right? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we were all the way down at 0.002. I remember this, right? These are the daily candles. We were chilling near this zone roughly for, about 2 to 3 weeks. And then we just exploded. We found momentum. I will say though, the daily turbo candles are definitely, getting a little bit extinguished, right? There's definitely some momentum getting lost. But if Bitcoin does decide to surprise us, let's say go up to 100K, 102K, 103K, then there's no reason why Turbo will not follow, right? I will say, like I said, the current daily candle looks fairly weak, right? It does look fairly weak. I don't know if it's just me or what. The charts do say that, you know what, as long as we kind of just keep printing higher and higher lows, there is no reason and suggestion for Turbo to pull back or even Bitcoin itself, right? We can see we're consistently printing higher lows all the time and even higher highs. We can see we printed this higher high, but this higher high is a little concerning because, like I said, at least on the daily, it closed fairly weak, right? It's not even the second or third best daily candle close, right? We have way better ones. So, that is something just to look out for. But with Bitcoin rising and potentially breaking our zone, if we do see, momentum upwards of even 100K, 102K, that definitely means we might very well have a strong, daily candle for Turbo. Here's the thing, right? Look at the volume to market cap ratio. We have almost a 1-for-1 ratio. Where else do you see this, right? Where else do you see this type of volume, this type of ratio? I mean, things are just getting on. I mean, oh my God, I have never seen anything like this. This is why I was super, super high on this coin. And even before everything went down, and even during things were going down, our ratios were still looking good. How much we retraced was still looking good. The consistent updates were still looking good. That's why I always believed in this coin, and I never lost faith because the data suggested that this coin is very, very powerful, and there's no way something like Robinhood does not list us eventually, right? Look, we are almost at 54,400 holders, which is crazy, right? Because the other day we're at talking about how we're at 200 and all of a sudden we're 200 more holders higher. So crazy, crazy, crazy times. Now, in terms of news, there's nothing too crazy from the news aspect itself, but Kraken desktop did say turbo mode on their desktop. So we got a mini shout out, right? Mini shout out, couple of thousand views. So, it's a little thing, but we take the little victories at this point. I mean, we just keep getting victories, right? Whether it's a shout out, whether it's some type of, collaboration, a new exchange, growth, market structure. I mean, no matter what it is, it has just been looking nice for turbo holders. Even holders that did buy, let's say, much lower, right? Or sorry, much, much higher. I would have really, really strong faith that we will recover. Okay. I would, seriously. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, right? That we're not that long and far away from recovering to the all-time highs. Now, you might say, well, that's kind of crazy thing to say, but if I were to tell you that in a few short weeks, we could very well be back to the all-time highs, would you really call that, a crazy thing to say? I mean, is this coin really deniable at this point? I mean, look how much we can pump in a single damn week if we want to, right? We can pump crazy, crazy numbers. So, once Turbo kind of, finds out its range, does what it wants to do, and continues to go higher very quickly, because like we said, there's a lot of imbalance in the 0.008 aspect. So we should kind of climb up fairly quickly to this zone, right? What's going to stop us after, right? Bitcoin's going to keep going up, and then eventually when Bitcoin dominance starts to drop and go into our favor, we're really going to be pumping, right? When Bitcoin dominance dropped from, this was the late November all the way down here to early December, right? When Bitcoin dominance dropped, like what is this, like 6-7% more or less, we can see how much Turbo actually pumped, right? So if we take Turbo and look at Turbo's pumps, right, we can actually see that when dominance was going down, we also pumped a good amount. I mean, we literally pumped 112% from that area. And we're talking about roughly being at 500, 400 million market cap or so, 4 to 500 million market cap, and we doubled in just a single week. Sure, we didn't hold it, but that's because there were, bearish signs suggesting that we will, possibly be going down. But the point is, we still did it, right? And that was only like 6-7% dominance dropping. What's going to happen when something like the dominance goes up, right? Bitcoin dominance, let's say, goes up. Let's just be fair. Let's just say somewhere in the middle, like let's just say 71%. And what's going to happen when the dominance drops all the way back down to something very, very similar of, let's say 60 to 61%. That is a big drop. That's 10%. That's a couple more percent than what we dropped. And then what's going to happen when altcoin season starts happening and this dominance drops an additional 20% on top of the 10% it dropped? What's going to happen then? Right? Especially with all the money that's coming into the markets, with all the liquidity that we talked about in a different video that's coming into the markets, especially with all the narratives, meme coin narratives always being in the hot seat no matter what, right? What's going to happen when you see Turbo go up another 100% in a single week and you have all that bandwagon? If everyone else hearing about it in the entire world, crypto this, Turbo this, right? Altcoins this person turned 10K to 100K. This person turned 5K to a million. This person turned 100K to 1.5 million. What's going to happen when all those stories start coming out and we just see cryptos consistently pump for, those couple of weeks? It's going to be insane, right? You guys are not ready. I'm not ready. I kind of know what's going to happen, right? Because I have the experience, I have the charts and etc. Blah blah blah. But even something like this very big candle, right? This very big candle caught me off, right? The price, getting to this price was inevitable. But did I think we are going to kind of range in this price within 2 days? We're going to start to range? No, I did not think we have that capability just to do that. But guess what? I was proven wrong. This just gave me more faith, more data, more confirmation that this coin is more than ready to be exploding to the upside, right? Nothing is going to hold back this coin, right? We do not have anyone with like 20% holdings. There's no one relevant that can just rug pull. There's no nothing. This is just community driven at this point. We got big boy players in here. We got the community here, right? We got so many things done in terms of exchanges, listings, partnerships. I mean, the innovation the coin has done, the amount of, like I said, the amount of things and narratives it's an AI narrative. It's in a meme coin narrative. It's dabbling into the gaming narrative. It's dabbling into the metaverse narrative, right? Collaboration this, collaboration that, potential shoes, book. I mean, like merch, right? Some of these things are small, some of these things are big. And we're not even on Robinhood yet. Like, just think logically. You think that, these crappier coins that got listed on Robinhood that have much less to offer, uh, you know, like you think what, Robinhood's gonna list those, but not something that's actually a golden gem, a golden mine, something like Turbo. I mean, come on, people. Come on. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. I would bet so much damn money. If I could, I would. I seriously would. Because that's like the freest win ever, in my opinion. I mean, people, like, the data does not lie. We literally were the number one pumped coin just 2 weeks ago out of the top 300. Take that in. We outdid we outdid every big coin. We outdid all the big caps, the medium caps, the small medium caps. We outdid everybody. That project this, innovation this, doesn't matter. We're turbo. We are turbo. You understand? And the crazy part is we're just getting started. We haven't even reached back to all-time highs. We haven't even been scaling that hard with holders. Like, for me, this is really nice growth. Don't get me wrong. But I know what it is like to be in the spotlight, and I know how crazy altcoin season will be when there'll be hundreds of holders, new holders a day, thousands of new holders a day. The Twitter page is gonna blow up probably to like 500,000 to like upwards of 1 million, right? Because there's gonna be so much bandwagon on this coin. I would not be surprised. Like, there was this other coin, there was like this green one, Super Moon or something. I forgot what it was called, but or Safe Moon or something like that. And that coin went to like billions in market cap, billions and billions. And sure, people had their little COVID checks and stuff, but you got to realize, like, yeah, we have governments, institutions, we have more big boys now, we have just more global liquidity now, and you know what? People are still gonna take risks with money they don't have when they see everyone getting rich. They're gonna take another loan. They're going to take a second mortgage if they want. They're going to take some money from their savings. They're going to sell their gold and jewelry to pump into coins that can, make a lot of money. They're going to do that. So I'm just saying, people, Turbo is going to do wonders. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, right? To sum it up once again, at this current moment, we are ranging. I'm still looking for pullbacks, but that is me being a little stubborn. But like I said, if Bitcoin just decides to say, hey, you know what, we just want to continue to pump, then Turbo will most likely follow. That is just the reality of the markets, right? And especially if there's going to be news coming out with Trump, with China, with everything else, where it just means assets like Bitcoin are going to be going up, then it is what it is, right? The retest was just here for a couple of days, and we're just shooting up. I mean, it could be that fast. If the market wants to be that fast, then it could be that fast. Remember, I am not a market maker. I am simply a participant. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.